Hello everybody, and welcome if you are a newcomer to our channel. Today's video is both interesting and scaring as we will speak about the worst prisons on the earth. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, you will not be sorry. New videos are coming out every day, so you'll not get bored. Let's begin. Top 10 The worst prisons in the world. The worst thing in a prison, and exactly what makes a prison, is the fact that you can't get out of there no matter how terrible the situation becomes. If this does not intimidate you enough to abide the law, then 10 prisons which we will tell you about below, will definitely beat off your desire to be naughty. The attitude towards people who violated the law has always been unambiguous. For centuries, especially guilty criminals were subjected to torture or the death penalty, while others were simply kept in prison. Prison is not a resort by definition, but some of these establishments are really stand out. They excel in total unsanitary conditions, inhuman conditions of detention, cruelty, hunger and disease. To your attention, 10 branches of hell on earth. 10. La Sabaneta Prison, Venezuela. Our top begins with La Sabaneta Prison. For every 150 prisoners, there is only a one guard. The prison was designed for 15,000 people, which doesn't prevent the Venezuelan authorities from containing 25,000 violators of the law. Prison conditions are disgusting. The cells are overcrowded by prisoners, thousands of people are forced to sleep in makeshift hammocks. Diseases, such as cholera, are incredibly common in La Sabaneta, due to total unsanitary conditions. But if you think that's as bad as prisons can get, you really should see the next one. 9. ADX Florence Supermax, USA. ADX is the largest maximum security prison in the United States. The most dangerous criminals of America get here. In general, the conditions are pretty good. Each prisoner is provided with a bed, a table, a chair, a sink and a toilet bowl. The cells have electricity, there's a radio. There are even black and white TVs which broadcasting 2 or 3 channels. The problem here is that the lights are only turned on for 2 hours a day. The conditions of prisoners are hardly humane. They even eat without leaving their cells. The windows are small and located high in the ceiling. Just think of this horrible fact. Due to an acute shortage of sensory information, criminals caught in ADX are literally going crazy. People that ended up here have no opportunity to communicate. They're being kept in isolated solitary confinement cells. The psyche doesn't cope with such torture, resulting in prisoners literally go crazy. 8. Nairobi Prison, Kenya. Another place of confinement which prisoners are treated as non-humans, is Nairobi Prison. The institution was designed to hold 800 prisoners. Nevertheless, its nowadays population is closing in on to 3,800 inhabitants. That is not to mention the pretrial detention cells which contain another 250 people instead of 50. The prisoners are in the lack of, literally everything. From mattresses to medical care. Due to the high temperature in the cells, the stuffiness here is unbearable. People are seriously ill and even die from inhuman conditions. One wouldn't want to find themselves in here, would they? 7. La Sante, France. The 7th place in our ranking is given to a Paris prison with the name of La Sante. The prisoners down here are in a such depressed state, they are ready to beat their heads against the walls for hours, swallow rat poison and punch their bellies with forks just to kill themselves. In 1999 alone, 124 suicides were recorded here. During the same period, in the entire state of California, out of 160,000 prisoners, only 24 people committed suicide. The horrors of the prison of La Sante became known from the story of the chief physician of the prison, Veronica Wasser. The diary she kept for over 7 years contained many shocking facts. The cells in La Sante are overcrowded, prisoners take a shower 1 to 2 times a week, and fed with poor quality products, often rotten vegetables. Nearly all prisoners suffer from skin diseases and lice. 6. Bang Kwang Central Prison, Thailand. Bang Kwang Prison is a place known for the terrible atrocities committed against inmates. Most prisoners eat rice only once a day. Those who want to get more food have to work for security guards or wealthy prisoners. For the first 3 months of being here, prisoners' legs are chained with iron shackles. Prisoners have to lie side by side in the cells, without the mere possibility to stretch out. Guards beat up, torture and sexually abuse prisoners all the time. A defining characteristic of this prison is, the crimes committed by convicts here, mostly are related to drug trafficking. Many convicts are foreigners. According to Thai law, the minimal sentence prescribed for such cases is 25 years. Can you imagine what's life in here would be like? Before go to the final 5 of the world's worst prisons, take a pause for a moment and click subscribe button. New videos come out every day. 5. Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Our closing top 5 begins with the notorious Guantanamo Bay. People who serve here a sentence represent a direct threat to U.S. national security. Among them are dangerous terrorists, including ones from the Middle East region. The main contingent of the prison is foreigners. Abuse and human rights violation, it's a casual thing here. Prisoners get beaten, deprived of sleep, locked up in tight cells with no light. Guards' attitude towards religion is completely disrespectful. Many prisoners complain that the warden staff had been taking the Quran away just to tear it to pieces and flush into the toilet. Not everyone can survive Guantanamo tortures. The prisoners' heads get smashed on the concrete, cigarettes get extinguished on their skins, and their lungs get irritated with pepper spray. Quite awful. Better pose no threat not to appear here. 4. Tadmor Prison, Syria. Until its eventual liquidation, Tadmor Prison was known as a place where torture and execution considered normal. Guards could torture a person just for the fun of it. And should one be refusing to confess a supposedly committed crime, he was beaten with steel pipes, cables, whips and boards. There were cases with several prisoners thrown to bleed in the yard with their limbs chopped off. Resisting the horrible treatment, prisoners had come together to oppose the lawlessness, which is usually rare behavior for convicts. In response, the guards began to show even more cruelty. The prisoners were even forced to sleep on only one side, and everyone who could have turned over in their sleep was beaten. An interesting fact. In June 1980, after one prisoner stabbed another, the guards broke into the cells and killed a total of 800 people. Fortunately, numerous reports of ill treatment led to the closure of the Tadmor prison in 2001. 3. Carandiru, Brazil. Located in Sao Paulo, Carandiru prison was closed in 2002 due to reports of atrocities committed in there. What exactly they were? Overcrowding and diseases. HIV, tuberculosis, ringworm. All these are just small part of the horrors inflicted in that place. Despite the fact that more than 20% of prisoners were slowly dying of AIDS, they were not given any medical care. The pipes in the prison were clogged, all prisoners had to relieve themselves right in the cells. The guards tortured the prisoners with electric shocks and beatings. People were raped and strangled with plastic bags over their heads. If the end of the world was gonna come up, it would probably look like this. 2. Diyarbakir, Turkey. In the early 80s of the last century, the world community learned the truth about Turkish prison of Diyarbakir. Hundreds of Kurds were contained there since the 1980 military coup. Prisoners had their hairs tore out, bones crushed, genitals cut off. They were brutally beaten, raped, strangled, doused with boiling water, forced to stand or sit in unnatural poses for several days in a row. Psychological torture was no less terrible. Undressed prisoners were blindfolded and doused with ice water. They were insulted, intimidated, deprived of food and water, forced to urinate against each other. Many prisoners spent weeks in solitary confinement, where they literally went crazy. Often, warders did not allow prisoners to sleep for 3 to 4 days. These unbelievable atrocities really make you think that God left this world for good. 1. Kwan Liso number 22. North Korea. Finally, the last one. Unfortunately, due to the isolation from the outside world, very little is known about the terrible things happening in this camp. This prison is not on any map, and the government even denies the fact of its existence. But sometimes information leaks do happen. People in this prison remain there until the end of their lives. Often even whole families are sent here. A person receives only 170 grams of corn per day. Meat is never on the menu here. People have to catch cockroaches, worms and rats, to provide some protein for themselves. The prisoners are dressed in rags. Accidents happen very often, especially in mines, because no one cares about the safety of prisoners. If people die during work, at the end of the day their bodies are collected and burned in furnaces. Mourning for the dead is strictly prohibited. A third of prisoners are disfigured by guards, for allegedly working poorly. These people have broken noses, gouged out eyes, and cut off ears. An interesting fact, all prisoners over 6 years old must work in coal mines or in the fields, regardless of whether they can do it. A working day lasts for 15 hours in a row, and all these time people are not even fed. And people with physical disabilities, including amputated limbs, have to work too. Maybe you think, well, if they have committed terrible crimes, then they deserve to be closed away from society. And although this may be true, anyone deserves to respect his most basic rights. Even the criminals. Prisons are so overcrowded and underfunded, that inhabitants live in conditions one would hardly wish even for the biggest enemy. Imagine if, by the will of fate, your mother or brother end up here. Can you imagine more terrible scenario? That's it, friends. We do our best not to let you get bored while also working on your education. Be careful, follow the laws in order to stay away of those awful prisons. Give us thumbs up, share this video with your friends and subscribe to the channel. Join our family and make your time pass more interesting. We're happy to every and each of you. See you soon again. And thanks for watching.